Hello folks, this is going to be an introduction to the Solitaire variant to John Poniske's Plains Indians War. And in this scenario, the human player is going to play the side of the U.S. forces, and the AI is going to run the Indians, the Northern Plains tribes and the Southern Plains tribe. Now I'm going to assume that you know the base rules for the two-player game, but just as a refresher, the red cubes represent the Northern Plains Indian tribes. The orange cubes represent the Southern Plains Indian tribes. Purples are enemies of the Plains Indians. Black are the railroads. Yellow, which in the this is the original production here, but the final production is going to be white cubes. Yellow represents the wagons. Brown represents settlers, and blue represents the U.S. cavalry. So here's the setup. And you already see there's a concentration of Indians here in this one and this one. Now, what's different on this prototype is all the sections are labeled, as you can see. And this is going to help run the AI for the Indian forces, as you will see. All right, goals. A couple of goals here for the U.S. player. Well, of course, one is to complete the railroads. All right, if you complete it, that's going to be 3 points. If you don't complete it, that's 3 points for the Indians. Another goal is to open up the wagon trails. Now, any wagons that end up reaching the Rockies on one of these wagon trails, as you can see here, are going to gain 1 point. Any wagons that the Indians eliminate, and they're going to place them in this box, are going to be worth 1 point for the Indians. The wagons that reach the Rockies will be placed in this box here and worth 1 point. Now, one change to the regular rules is that any wagons still in the plains are worth half a point. And that could make a difference in breaking a tie game. These games can be very, very close. Okay, so opening up the trails, meaning controlling the regions that have the wagon trails going through them. The U.S. player keeps them open. That's 5 points for the southern wagon trails and 5 points for the northern ones at the end of the game. And good luck with that. This is a point salad of scoring points here. The other one is to control the purple region, north and south. So in the regular rules, whoever has the most territories is going to gain, it's going to gain 3 points. Technically, we're going to, in the solitaire version, either side can gain 3 points if they have the most. If they each have 5, say a tie, then no points are awarded. You will see there will be a lot of fighting for the purple area. There'll be a lot of fighting for the wagon trails, and then of course, in order to open up the railroad lines, you have to get your settlers along this line here. So all of these territories here need to be cleared by the U.S. cavalry and settlers forces before they can complete the railroads. Okay, so other points. Of course, controlling each territory, regular rules, both sides get 1 point for each territory to control. So in the beginning, the Indians have a majority, but as the course of the game goes, the U.S. will control some of these territories, but then also lose them. So 1 point for each one. Now, the Indians gain points for the northern tribe territory and the southern tribe territory, but also the purple zones they control, 1 point each territory. The U.S. forces only get points for controlling the Northern Plains tribe territory and the Southern Plains tribes territory, but not these. They don't get points for this. They get 3 points if they control the majority of these 10 areas. Keeping on now. So the U.S. player doesn't adopt a strategy of ignoring these concentrations, particularly sometimes they're in these remote area. For every concentration of 4, all right, and that's the max in the solitaire version that Indians can build up. For every concentration of 4 Indian cubes in a region, that is an additional 4 points for the Indians, in addition to the 1 point they're getting. So this is a 5-point concentration. This is a 5-point concentration. All right, also look at Mexico and Canada to the north. Now that starts off as purple's region, right? If the Indians gain control of Mexico, that's 5 points for them and 5 points for Canada. So there's a point salad, all sorts of points here. I wrote up some rules, got the draft rules out, and we can kind of take a look at this. Here we go. So railroads, keeping the wagon trails open, eliminating or getting wagons to reach the Rockies, controlling regions, 4 cube regions, which is for the Indians only. Canada, Mexico, 5 points each. Purple region, 3 points each. Oh, and then the last thing is key locations. So again, so you don't adopt a strategy as the human U.S. player of avoiding certain areas and ignoring it. Where I place, doesn't come with the game, but I place these green little huts in 4 locations, 2 in the north and 2 in the south, that if the U.S. player controls at the end of the game, it's 2 points to the U.S. player. So we have the Black Hills, and there's a card for that one. We have Salt Lake City, and then south of the railroad line, we're going to have Denver. You can see that. And then way out in this remote area corner here is Phoenix. And it's misspelled on this prototype, but it will be corrected. So those are 2 points each. That's a total of 8 possible points for the U.S. player. And games have been running about an hour apiece. And point spread has varied from 40 to upper 20s, low 30s apiece. Back and forth. Indians have been winning some. U.S. players winning others. So this is just an introduction. A little bit on the rules. Play is that you have cube draw from a bag. Here, there's seven different colors that you're drawing from, and that determines turn order. Now, U.S. player, if you draw the blue forces or the brown forces, they go with their cards. They have 3 cards from their deck, and you refresh that at the end of each turn. And some of these cards are events, and some are text cards that you can play in addition to these events. Okay, again, know your basic rules. I'm not going to go through everything. And here's the U.S. player. Now, drew the Custer card. So we have to conduct this immediately. This is the first thing, even though we just set up the game. This will be the first action of the game, is this Custer card. It's the only card like it. But let me talk about the AI Indian. So on their turn, if you draw their cube, you're going to roll some dice. Okay, 12-sided dice. So there's 12 locations in the north, and there are 12 locations in the south. And so wherever you roll, you're going to roll it twice. You're going to put 2 Indian cubes of that color in those locations, a maximum of 4. All right, and then same thing on, you draw the orange turn. You're going to roll it twice, a D12, and put maximum of 2. If it's already has 4 in it, then you don't place the excess one. So I'll show you that. And then if you draw purple, that's an interesting thing going on there. What happens on the purple one is the first thing you look for is a concentration of 2 Indian cubes in a region. And if you do have 2 cubes in a region, then what you'll do is you'll place 1 additional cube in any adjacent purple region that is enemy controlled. And it could be blank to be enemy controlled. And that's going to create a firestorm of reaction to the purple zone and create a separate fight for that area. So once you do that, then the purple turn is by regular rules. You grab 1 cube, you can place it anywhere in or adjacent to a purple control region, either in the north or the south, in Canada or Mexico is included. And then you can make 1 activation. And an activation is 1 region either in the south or north, or you can take any casualties and then replenish it to your pool here as your 1 activation. So that's how purple runs. The wagons, I'll explain that shortly. When you draw the yellow cube, you place 2 in St. Louis, and then you move everybody 1 space along the trail. It's just kind of automatic progression. And in the regular game, that's all you did. And in red or orange turns, if there was a conflict, if there was a region that was both occupied by the wagons and an enemy force, then you'd have an engagement, and you roll a couple of brown dice and see if you have hits. So what I do here is you do that portion. Any engagements you take place, one of the differences, to make this a little bit more competitive, is in the brown dice, any any symbol that you roll, whether it's a hit symbol or a piece symbol, is going to be considered a hit, and that's going to be removed to this box over here, and it'll be 1 point for the Indians. Any misses, any engagements that do not take out a wagon, then that wagon will advance 1 territory further. And that's it. You don't continue to do it until the next turn. But in addition to that, you roll 2 random dice, 1 for the north and 1 for the south. And wherever this number lands, let's just kind of show you, for example. All right, so 2 in the north, and these trails are numbered. This is wagon trail in 1, in 2, and that you'll place that here. And if there was a yellow wagon here, then you would conduct an engagement. So for each wagon, you would roll 1 dice. If you had 2 wagons, you'd roll 2 dice, and you conduct an extra engagement. So there's a lot of fighting on these trails. Here's 6, and 6 would be right at the exodus here. If there's nobody here, there's no wagons here, then nothing happens. So that's how you play the yellow one. I think I basically covered the rules of the solitaire versions. Again, a point salad and very intense. A lot of decisions to be made. Okay, I'll admit this is a dice fest and a lot of randomness occurs, but there's a lot of decision. It's very historical. It's very playable. It plays quick and it's fun. Okay, and so what I'm going to try to do from here is go through a turn 1 order video, separate video.